Most of my male friends chose suicide to stay alive. And now they think they found a wife and any woman who can bring to life the emotions that this 21st century has made them suppress. Words such as soft and moist have ruined our men, and I'll say this over and over again. Our boys are playing dead to stay ahead in this game where emotions aren't permitted to run their course. So they're running until their legs are coarse and throat are force, but they're forced to keep a poker face throughout the burn. As children should be seen and not heard, a man's burden should be buried and not learnt. My dad taught me how to portray strength well, whilst my ex taught me that sometimes when he fell, he couldn't help it, and that sometimes it's okay for a man to feel helpless. In fact, he was the first man to ever cry on my shoulder. And at that exact moment, I have never respected him more. But it was the follow-up to this that really frightened me. Suddenly, like a closing door, his mouth closed upwards, pushing his tears back as if they should have never left in the first place. Then he turned to me, face stern, and asked me if I was okay. I hurt that day. That moment damn near broke me. How can a man, cheeks still soaked, float up out of that moment as if being hung by ideas on masculinity to act as our rock? As if he wasn't allowed to be broken. He was a man. Nothing and nobody should overwhelm him emotionally. Before he displayed an unfixable weakness, he will be damned. Before he was human, he was man. My ex taught me so many things, but mainly how to love my craft. Because inside my ex, I saw a man turn his pain into art. And you have to understand the beauty of that. Now, I'm going to throw out two statements that will land as fact in every corner of the globe. 1, men are not expected to publicly show vulnerability or hyper-emotionality in any manner except anger. And 2, something called poetic license exists, and the world would spin very differently if it didn't. So this is my story about the boy. I led poetry workshops literally just up the road from here. And it was my first time working with this company, so naturally, I went in with about 10 different versions of myself on deck, hoping to be perfect for the young woman who came in with about 10 poems on her side and then 10 more to say. With so much to express, she didn't come to be taught. She came to talk. And I have 2 ears on deck ready to be perfect for her and for her. Her hushed tones didn't tell me that she was aware of the spark deep inside her. Nor did her rapid recline back into her shell after having added vocal to her writing. She ropes all of the lighting from whichever room she's in. She swirls it and swallows it until there is no space for darkness within. So the darkness is forced out in elements of poetry and pain. And the paper acts as weight to condition this brain. She didn't come to be taught. She came to be tended for. And we all have spaces darker than demons within us that will make for her light to shine permanently. And then there was the boy. He didn't say much when he first came in. He kind of just sat at the back and didn't try to fit in. And honestly speaking, before my ego gets the better of me, he didn't seem like he wanted to be here. I mean, he didn't respond to any of our questions and he did not laugh at any of my jokes. Because his throat was blocked by champagne pops from the nights when he would stay out and stunt, to stay out in front, to live life like the musicians that he sees on TV with the lump sums of money that he aspires to be. But ironically, these same musicians that he aspires to be, he had never seen their writing sessions. So this environment, it was new to him. Now, what was really getting to me is that nobody is ever forced to come to our sessions. I mean, some people come specifically to meet and greet our team, but he was not giving us that impression. He didn't even hold eye contact when we tried to talk to him. But his eyes did close when they smiled. So what we tried to do was pry them open with elements of love and light to let him know that it was okay to be in full sight when being overwhelmed by an emotion. I know in a group of people you shouldn't have favourites, but I made him my task. So the second week in, I asked for a sit down. He sauntered in, he told me his name. I said, I know who you are, I've read your description. You come to our sessions, you don't seem to listen, but you love the art. I can see it in your face. And this is when he started feeling some type of way. He kind of squirmed in his seat a bit and put his head to the ground. I lifted up his chin and said, listen, At the end of these sessions, there's going to be a task, and you're going to have to perform to a group full of strangers. I tried to keep my tone assertive but soft. I mean, after all, my purpose was never forceful. And then he took my hand off his chin and put it on his knee, taking me and my sudden awareness for surroundings by surprise. And he looked me in the face, and his grinning teeth told me that this was a situation he was far more accustomed to than writing poetry. He said, "I'll perform for you if you do something for me." Now, as opposed to objecting this entirely, my head was going crazy. I was trying to capture still images of him in his comfort zone, because this was this man in his comfort zone, and I promised myself right there and then that this was the version of him that I wanted to see when he performed poetry. So I took my hand off his knee and said, "Listen, why are you here?" And he stuttered a bit, readjusted a bit, realigned his mind to his ears. And he said, "I've got stuff to say that I can't put on paper, but my boys say it's gay, so I'm slightly conflicted. I mean, I want to write, right? Get stuff off my chest. But that poetry we learnt in school, that can bore someone half to death. And because of those years in school, I never even picked up a pen." Then the other day, I was quite upset. And to be honest, I didn't want to punch another wall. So I decided to pick up a pen and let the sky fall. Now, admittedly, I didn't feel that much better afterwards, but I knew that with time I would. I mean, writing, it came like music. The paper was so open to my problems, and that's slightly therapeutic. I mean, I can't go talk to my guys about heartache and pain. Damn, the most I can do is tweet a lyric from Drake. Even then. So I guess that's why I'm here, to refine my craft, so I can take these emotions and turn them into art. Now, with the fattest smile on my face, I said, "All right, let's do it." He apologized for earlier, and we kept it moving. Now, one part of me wanted him to run into the room and be like, "Guys, it's okay. I'm here. I'm ready to write." But these were boundaries he's held up his whole life, being taught that there's certain emotions that men aren't expected to embrace. Stiffen you up a lip, boy. Come on, kid, big boys don't cry. Because of this conditioning, it's become necessary to stay alive. I'll admit that. Your generation of males, and potentially mine, they can't afford to be anything but the alpha male at all times. But I've seen the impact of pumping free expression into schools. I've seen boys that have been very, very angry learn to evaluate, reassess, and change their emotion. And that's beautiful. My ex, maybe my ex because he was too good for me. Now, I'll admit that open-heartedly. But he fell for me because I forced his mouth to respond to mine. When I asked him how his spirit was, he couldn't hide until we had got to the bottom of his problem and awakened the more human man inside. And not everyone takes the time to do that, and as a girlfriend, I tried. So this is my letter to the more human man inside. In fact, this is my plea to the more human man inside. Dear ageless man inside, your gender arrived after your existence, as with your knife and shield that acts as resistance. I want you to wake up now. And not just when your outer body lets you, but wake up permanently. And of course, I'm biased, but I'm a poet, so I will say, for safety's sake, we need more men writing poems before the holes in the wall and gaps in between bars swallow us all, and swallow what remains of their human side for good. Before the poems that we learnt in textbooks in school become the only point of reference for poetry. And now, to finish this poem on a selfish note, I want to be enough as a girlfriend, beyond my providing the keys to the insides that you were conditioned to publicly ignore. I don't want to be another ex after someone has opened. I don't want you to be blinded to the rest of me once you've noticed the shine of these keys that open you. So challenge creativity. Create more human men. And don't double think before they become overwhelmed. You and your emotions are human. Now let that sink in. And then, and only then, will you see that you are as comfortable as you portray, embracing everything beneath your skin? Thank you.